And we're gonna start with eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So Lori, let's start with you. We're gonna start off with some marketing questions, okay?
Sure.
All right. So Lori, why should a small business consider B2B marketing versus traditional print social media marketing?
Well, the first reason is networking provides opportunities to meet and connect with people. So you want to get out there, you want to connect with people, you want to meet new people, you want to meet people who could be your client. You could also want to meet people who you bond with and build strong relationships. That's how Michelle and I met. My very good friend Lisa DeCoste, she works for Fulton Bank. That's how we met. You go to networking with a plan. You don't go to networking to meet everybody in the room. You don't go to networking to meet everybody in the room and get everybody's card. You go to networking to see who's there and then determine who you want to meet from the people who are there. Simple.
That's good. That's good. If we could build upon that, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
That goes along with that. What tips can you share about having that plan and going into the room? How do you kind of structure that?
Well,
What does that look
basically,
like?
I go in, and when I'm at a, this is going to sound terrible, but when I go to a networking event, and this doesn't include you guys because this is a luncheon. Remember, this is a luncheon, okay? When I go to a networking group, I don't eat. Because if I'm eating, I'm sitting down and I'm not out talking to people. So I don't eat. I will take a drink because I obviously need water. But I go in and I look and see, I scan the room. If I don't know everybody, the first person I see that I don't know, that's who I talk to. I will sometimes ignore my friends, but my friends totally understand why I'm ignoring them because they're ignoring me too, doing the exact same thing. We all go there to meet someone we don't know. And if in 3 minutes I determine, and y'all gotta remember who I am, I'm very blunt. If I determine within a minute that they're not gonna help me and I'm not gonna help them, I excuse myself very nicely. I'm bold and I'm blunt, but I'm not mean. I just say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna move on and meet some new people, you know, no harm, no foul. And I'm looking for the people who can help me grow my business. I don't need to meet another person to go to coffee with or go to lunch with if they're not in my zone of people that I have already determined who I want to meet. I already have, before I go there, I already have a list of not people, I have a list of companies I want to meet. And I don't mean I want to go meet Chuck with Worley's Home Services. I want to meet air conditioning people. I want to meet lawyers. I want to meet types of businesses. So that's kind of my strategy.
Awesome. So being intentional, right?
Absolutely.
Walking in the door. Awesome. All right, we're going to pivot a little bit, just piggybacking on that, to Mr. Norris about branding your business and growing it. What is a power statement?
All right, so that's actually a good segue because what a power statement can be used for is in a networking environment, and it's really good. So basically, a power statement is just it's a concise, assertive, and bold statement about what your business is. It's intended to differentiate your business from everybody else, and it changes the posture from I do this, this, and this, so you should do business with me, to your potential clients seeking you out to solve their problem. So if you can craft a good power statement, that it works wonders, especially in a networking environment. Because right away people will know I need you, versus you seeking I need to go see them. I've used power statements in events where the next day I'm being asked to come see them, or setting appointments right there on the spot. But it's got to be a good crafted power statement in order for that to happen.
Would you consider a power statement being equivalent to like a elevator pitch? Or is that something a little different?
It's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah. Elevator pitches don't really separate you from everybody else, and a lot of times elevator pitches are, depending on if you own your own business, then you kind of come up with your elevator pitch. But if you're with a company, you know, they tend to give you an elevator pitch to use. But it just doesn't differentiate you.
I have a power statement. One of my power statements that I use is when I'm in a room with people who are DoD contractors, and I'm like talking, I say, now, this isn't perfected, so I'm still working on bringing it out, but my power statement is, DoD contractors come to me because I am the one who can give them the satisfaction of saying, yes, I'm CMMC compliant, because I'm the one who makes them CMC compliant, and no one else in my space can do that for them. When the government comes in and it's going to shut them off because they're not CMMC compliant, all they have to do is call me and I can make them CMC compliant. But they have to call me before the government sends them the letter that says, I'm sorry, you weren't CMC compliant and we're cutting off your funds and you're no longer eligible to bid. Imagine how many people that's going to affect that keep saying, they're going to kick it down the line, they're going to kick it down the line. Well, guess what? They've already started stopping kicking it down the line, and contractors have already started experiencing that. So as soon as I say I can stop that, no one else in Hampton Roads can come in my space and do that. That's my power statement.
That's good. That's really
So can I pick? So if you notice what she did, what's the first thing she said? People come to me, seek me. That's right there. That says something different. Then she followed up, then injected in there was, nobody else can do what I do. And it takes a minute to figure it out. Why she said she hasn't perfected it yet, because to help construct a good power statement, you kind of need to be in a group of about 3 to 4 people to brainstorm, to ask questions, to kind of pull stuff out of people, to find that one thing. And the beauty of finding that one thing is once you identify it, you know it's true, then that gives you the confidence to say what you say and it comes across. Nobody can do what I do. And they hear it, right? So if you can construct, if you can get in a group of 3 or 4 people, work on a pattern, know what it is you're trying to achieve, and you can construct a good power statement, it works wonders, especially if you're in a business like this is intended for businesses 3 to 5 years old, probably don't have the budget to do a lot of advertising. So your advertising really is your mouth, right? So that can change the dynamics of a lot of encounters that you have.
Can we stay there for one quick second? I talked about how. You talked a little bit about the how. Can you dive a little bit deeper, get in a room with others, about 3 or 4 other people to talk about your business, but how else do you do that? What do you do after that? After you're brainstorming, how do you put those things together?
Typically in the form of, you start with identifying who your target audience is, then identify the challenges and pain points that they have, and a lot of times, if you can, express those challenges in terms of fear, right? A person knows that they're here, they want to get here, they know what it looks like here, but they don't know how to get from this point to that point, and a lot of times they're just afraid, right? A lot of times they're just afraid to do it because they don't know how, they need somebody to hold their hand, and so if you can identify that and get that across, then that's one of the things. Clearly identify what you sell, right? You get a good power statement. It's not, you don't sell your widget or your service. You're selling the solution to some fear that they have, okay? And then what differentiates you, that's the hardest part, because a lot of times you really got to dig into to who you are, what your business does, to be able to come up with really what sets you apart, where you can truly say with complete confidence, nobody else can do what I do. Okay?
Awesome. Okay. We're going to pivot a little bit, and we talked a little bit about branding. Let's talk about employees. all in businesses without employees, you have no business, right? So, Chelsea, let's talk a little bit about retaining employees. And we just came out of COVID, well, not just, we're still in COVID, but the main part of COVID, the potatoes of COVID. How can a company who has struggled to retain employees, what can they do to work outside of that COVID timeframe now? What are a few tools you can use to allow for a smoother return to work transition outside of COVID now?
Awesome. Great question. Thank you. It's really going to depend on the type of industry that you're into, right? There are some professions that will allow maybe a potential hybrid work schedule. So maybe some more professional companies would allow for that. But then we've got companies that are a little bit boots on the ground, right? Some of them may not have had that impact of trying to get those employees to come back to work because they've already technically been out in the field. But I'd say more for professional companies, kind of throw us maybe an employee survey out. Find what they really appreciated being in their home environment or where they were working more remote, right? Which I could probably say most instances they were working from home. Try to capture the things that they really enjoyed about being at home. You're probably going to get an answer of they felt like a little bit more of a work-life balance. Maybe during lunch they're throwing a load of laundry in, and so kind of helping up with those home tasks to where if they can come to a common ground, maybe you can find a way to build in that hybrid type of solution so that they can have a little bit of that, right? But also come back and have that interaction with the team. So I'll use our company as an example. We are primarily in the office, right? Because we've got clients that are coming in, visiting us for client appointments. And so it is more important for us to have kind of folks in the office to be greeting clients and visitors that are coming in. But we did have a scenario where one of our employees did need to do a hybrid work situation, and it did really favor her for the time period that she needed to do it. So definitely kind of getting an understanding of how best your employees can work, maybe trying to offer that hybrid schedule if it's available, and really if they are coming back to work and they're not comfortable, maybe it's due to they've got to be sensitive to the people that they live with at home. Maybe they've got health conditions or things. Being cognizant about that and just remembering that it's not just about the workplace, it's about your employees and their home environment. And so maybe making some accommodations, again, the 6 feet apart, which I know has kind of been drilled in everyone's head, but just kind of a conscious reminder about what everyone as your employee faces with a home life balance as well.
Yeah, that's a major topic out there. How are we transitioning, bringing remote workers back into the workplace? So I think a lot of companies are truly having to deal with that conversation right now. Is it best to stay remote, or do I use the overhead and have a building and bring them back?
And really, a lot of my clients, so they have formulated a hybrid work schedule, and it has really been successful for them. So maybe allowing employees to be home 2 or 3 days a week, and then coming back into the office to allow for that. So yeah,
I think that helps with a lot as well. Morale for the team.
for sure,
Helps.
for sure.
Paula, let's talk about financial considerations for growth. What are some financial strategies for scaling your business, efficiency and sustainability?
Okay, so I am fastidious when it comes to money. So those who know me well accuse me of liking my money too much. But this is, I had somebody say to me when I first went into business, and this was somebody who's been when I first opened the financial services firm, said to me, Paula, why did you go into business? And I came up with something creative that we're all supposed to say, like, I want to help more people, I want to help them achieve their dreams, I want to help them build financial wealth. And he basically said to me, well, that's a bunch of BS. So why'd you really go into business? And I was like, no, that really is why I went into business. I want to help people. And he said, so at what level do you want to help people? Well, I want to help my community. I want to give back to charities. I want to donate time. I want to help people build financial freedom for themselves and their family. And he said, and so That's all fabulous, but you're still not getting where I want you to go. You go into business to make money, period. You can't do any of the other things you want to do if you are not making money. You can't help your community. You can't give to charities. You can't help your employees have financial freedom. You can't help any of the things for your family or any other charity in your community if you do not have a financially strong business. So it helped me repack my goals to understand that I can't reach any of them without first having a successful financial business. So when going through starting a business and going through expansions, I have always put the numbers first. I learned back then, you don't make emotional decisions with money, you put the financial piece of the business first. Before making moves to add employees, before making moves on expansion, you need to somehow quantify it. And that gets real difficult. It's hard for us to calculate sometimes the financial impact of the decisions that we need to make. But I came up with some tips for you, so I'm going to tell you that if you're going to decide to grow, I'm going to approach when I answer these questions up here, you have all the human aspects, I'm going to talk about the money side of it. When planning to grow, you need to have a very specific strategy. So you cannot have a goal just to say, oh, I want to grow next year. Oh, I want to grow by 3% next year. I want to grow by 10% next year. That's fabulous, but that is not a goal. In order to grow, you really need to do some market research and decide what part of your business are you going to grow. So if I'm Lori and I decide I'm going to try to grow next year, where am I going to grow and how am I going to grow? Am I going to grow in the copy space rental business? Am I going to grow in the IT space? Am I going to grow in whatever these things are that you make that nobody else can do? Is that what I'm going to grow in? But you've got to have something specific, right? So maybe it's Sharon and she's going to grow in her customer base. Maybe it's Hillary, right? Yes. And maybe she says, there's one piece of this that we're doing and we actually have really good profit margins on that. So we're going to grow out of the 20 things we do. We're going to grow really specifically in this segment of the business. So you need to have something specific. It needs to be measurable. As you all know, creating goals, they need to be very specific and measurable. And you need to calculate the cost of that growth. What is it going to take to grow there? And so it's important that you quantify it. I did write some notes. I'm going to look at my paper a little bit. Focus on one strategy at a time. Set a specific measurable goal with a time frame. So you need to understand, I think most of you understand what a measurable goal is, right? Does anybody here, y'all have gone through the goal training where you set measurable goals? Does everybody know that? Specifically, do y'all know what I'm talking about? Anybody? Okay. Next, you need to determine what are the resources that growth is going to take. So is it going to be financial resources? Is it going to be human resources? Is it going to be technology resources? And what's the cost of those? You need to stay focused on one goal at a time. I brought a book with me. I wanted to have it on the table. One of my favorite books is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I like the 4 Disciplines of Execution because it makes you define one important goal. As a business owner, you are going to be inundated with good ideas, really good ideas. And as a business owner, you are going to have to say no to a lot of really good ideas so that you can implement one strategic one and do it really well. And that's part of growth. If you're going to pick something to grow in, you need to focus on that one thing and you need to put your financial resources there, put your capital there, understand what those costs are going to be ahead of time. Don't go into this blindly. If you do this focused and you do this with a budget, you can achieve this, and as long as it's measurable and you're tracking it to make sure that you're on track. If you are not measuring that from a financial standpoint, then you need to have an end game in place to say, okay, this didn't work and I'm going to try something different now. But you need to be measuring things from a financial standpoint if you're in business. So there's more things. I've talked a little long. Levering technology, focus on your customer acquisition. So making sure you understand who your target customer is. So when you have this goal, not all of your customers, but on this goal specifically, you need to know who is that target customer. If I'm going just for those people, who is my customer? If you decide you're going to go after a customer segment, maybe I'm just going after truck drivers right now, and focus on that and build that. Measure it. I said set a budget, don't overwhelm yourself with debt. My first rule, and that's my last point on this specific thing. My husband and I have a joke because we have two businesses. We call our businesses the gooses. So the goose gets what the goose wants. The goose comes first above all other things. So the goose is the business. The goose lays the golden eggs. The goose gets whatever the goose needs. If the goose needs a new phone system, it gets a new phone system. If the goose needs a new warehouse, it gets a new warehouse. If it needs a new forklift, it gets a new forklift. The goose gets whatever the goose needs to be productive. If it needs new human, if it needs new employees, it gets that. The business comes first. The goose gets it gets fed every day. It gets comfortable bedding. It's always clean. It gets whatever it needs to lay the golden eggs. It comes first in all of the decision making. So when we are weighing out those financial decisions, we are always looking at, does this help the goose first?
I want to add on that. So Paula is business partners with her husband. In my businesses in Atlantic Office Technologies, I have 2 other partners, so there's 3 of us. So when we're having difficult decisions or we're not agreeing on something, we come back to the table. We have meetings every Tuesday night, 5 o'clock, you are here, period. There is no, it's my son's birthday. It doesn't matter that it's your son's birthday. You're here at 5 o'clock to have this owners meeting. So one of the things we do is say, when someone brings something up or, we're debating over something and like it's just gone on too long, then one of us will say, okay, is it something that you want or is it something the business needs? And that usually stops all conversations, because if it's not what the business needs, then the other 2 can look at the third one and go, do you see what we're saying now? And they're like, okay, yeah, never mind. So, asking yourself, is it what you want? Is it what you need? Or is it what the business needs? That can stop a lot of debate and make you understand what the real force is here, you or the business.
That was good, Paula. I both points very good, but the fact that you kind of shared there's a process in determining how you scale. It's not what I would do saying, I've reached my capacity, my team has reached their capacity, I'm ready to grow. It's definitely more than that process. So very good tips. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Good tips, good tips. Okay, we're gonna pivot to some more employee benefits information. So Michelle,
Yes.
if you would share with us a little bit about benefits. If a business asks, can they afford benefits? And how much can they afford to put towards their employee benefits? What do you advise them?
It's a great question. Basically, to understand that, I try to educate an employer on what supplemental benefits are, because the typical business owner knows what health insurance is, right? They know what major medical is. And supplemental is the exact opposite. Where health insurance pays the doctors and the hospitals, supplemental pays the person cash. It was actually designed for out-of-pocket expenses, deductibles, copays. But the employee or the employer can use that cash for anything they'd like, right? So when someone asks me that as a business owner, I'm thinking they probably think this is major medical. And I tell them, unlike major medical, this is very affordable because you don't have to pay anything. It can be payroll deducted where your employee can pay all of it, whatever they choose. So we have a host of products, different products. They choose 1 or 2. It can be deducted on a pre-tax basis, which actually saves the company money. In addition, we have benefits that start at 96 cents a week. This is very different than what they're used to, right? Or we have $1 a day. So when somebody says, how can I use that to leverage bringing in these new people? Well, first of all, you're offering a benefit. Maybe if you can't offer major medical, you can bring in the supplemental. So many times I say, okay, they can pay 100% themselves, or you can do what we call a defined contribution. And what that is, it's, let's say the benefits, as I said, are on average $1 a day, right? So wouldn't you like to contribute $30 per employee? I mean, think about how that would benefit the employee. Instead of having to give them a raise, you're giving them what cost you, the employer, less, but it's actually benefiting the employee. And that creates a morale the employee feels that the employer cares about them, really cares about them, because there's nothing worse than an employee getting cancer and not being able to afford it. Because I don't care how great your major medical is, it will not pay 100%. So yes, they can afford it. They can, it's payroll deducted. They can pay a little bit, or they can pay nothing. It's guaranteed issue, which means that they're not going to be denied because of their weight. I always say that I'm a little too wide for my height, so sometimes I have to look at that. So they won't be denied because of a past disease or illness. Now, they may have a waiting period, but typically, probably 99% of our plans, you won't be denied that. No participation requirement as long as you have 3 employees to enroll in one product. We offer value-added services, like say you have 5 employees and only 3 of them participate in a plan. The other 2 can benefit from this extra service, like MeMD or a health advocate, which helps them negotiate prices or out-of-pocket expenses that come in. And I think what differentiates us is that it's one-on-one. So I would sit with your employee and determine what works. I care about you and your employee, and I figure out, you know what might work for this person may not for the other. Somebody may need short-term disability because they want to have a baby, but somebody may be more interested in, you know, a cancer plan or dental, something like that. So there's a lot of variety and custom-made process.
Can you share, I know Aflac has so many benefits.
Yes.
Can you share some of those supplemental benefits that a company can offer?
Absolutely. There's so many, and it's important to know that I'm going to tell you what the benefits are, but we do not over-insure. So that's why I sit with you to find out what fits you.
And your family.
And your family. So you can insure, thank you, your family. It's not just you. You can actually insure your spouse, your significant other. You can insure your children. But we have a cancer plan, which is our flagship product, which it covers from the date of diagnosis all the way to hospice or remission. And it has benefits for all of those things because Aflac realizes, or any supplemental benefit or company realizes, that when you're fighting cancer, the last thing you need to do is have to fight how much these out-of-pocket expenses. If you want experimental treatment and your health insurance isn't going to pay for it, then you need something else. If you need to have reconstructive surgery, your health insurance is typically not going to pay that, typically. So you have extra benefits through here. So if an employer sees their employee who's suffering from something like this, they feel great that they've been able to bring this in for them. There's a critical illness plan, which is heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, think of your organs, which also pays big. And I'm talking, these plans are so affordable, but I've seen them pay $20,000 to $30,000 a year with continuing treatment. We have dental, we have vision, we have a life policy, life insurance policies. We have accident policy, which really helps an employer. Our employers love our accident policy because it's on or off the job, and it really cuts down with a lot of the Monday workers' comp claims, if you know what I mean. Okay, we won't go there. But no one here has that problem, but that happens a lot with a lot of employers that I deal with. They're injured on a Monday and when they're working, right? Well, maybe they were really injured on Saturday or Sunday, and if they have our accident plan, they can use that. So we figure out how is that going to fit you, and what do you think about that?
Okay, awesome. Now, I know we've gone through, do we want to take some questions now or just wait to the end?
We can take questions now, sure.
Please don't be shy. Does anyone have any questions thus far? If not, we're going to keep plowing through, but I want to give you an opportunity to ask questions to the panel from what you've heard thus far. Anything? I see it. You have a question?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, please, go
Let me
ahead.
think about something. Give me a second. I can think about something.
Go ahead, Tina.
How often do you guys get together with this panel? You guys are actually talking about really good things that, had I known you were going to talk about some of these things, maybe I would have invited some other people that may have benefited from listening. So how often do you do this?
This is our first
Every day.
go-round. We're trying to see if this is something people want to hear. So give us your feedback, because if it's bad, we don't want to do it anymore. If it's great, then we'd love to do it
I think
more.
it's great. Paula, do you do any classes on these tips that you just gave?
I do.
This is some good stuff right here.
I do. I do in a couple of ways. I volunteer at ODU Women's Center and help mentor the women who come through those programs, the Dream Builder programs. So I serve in that capacity, but I also do I do financial education in high schools. So I can get different teachers to invite me in, and I'll do day classes for teenagers. Lori and I have toyed a couple of times with the idea of holding more financial, two things. We've toyed with the idea of offering financial information classes. We've also toyed with the idea of doing marketing information classes. So if that's something that y'all think would be beneficial, that's something we have kind of toyed with doing more of. I have done the financial education classes in community rec centers, mostly surrounding my office in Virginia Beach, but it's something I really truly enjoy and I'm very passionate about. So if somebody has an opportunity, I would love to do it more.
All right. Did you have a question before
Thank
we
you.
jump back into
Go
school?
ahead, no, go ahead.
Okay. So let's jump back in. Yes, I agree with you. These are some definitely nuggets that are being dropped right now. So we're going to go back to Lori. And since we're talking about networking events and coming together and sharing information, what is one mistake you see people make when attending in-person events? You don't like this question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, okay. And what advice would you give them to correct it?
First of all, let me say,
Uh-oh.
oh my goodness, okay. I don't like it at a networking event when someone shows up and they're all mouthy and talking and they haven't even told me their name. They just, like they run towards you and then they get to you and they stand there and they're and I'm like, I back up. Just calm down. Take a breath. So, tell me the question again.
You're in the vein. What is one mistake you see people make when attending in-person events, and what advice would you give them to correct it?
Yeah, so take a breath. Absolutely, take a breath. Let people know when you're coming. Like RSVP. When you're going to an event, RSVP. When you get there, take a breath and calm yourself down before you come in the room. Because most people are just nervous, right? When you're walking into a room full of 30 people, I'm nervous. I might not look nervous, but I'm nervous. So everybody else got to be nervous too, right? Tell me someone if you walk in the room of 30 people that you don't know if you're nervous or not. Come on.
Okay.
You're not nervous, are you?
Oh, yes. I thought she asked it the other way. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of us are nervous, like, right? If I walk into a group of 30 people and it's my women, what's it called? We're going tonight?
Chamber.
It's my women's chamber thing. I'm not nervous at all. But the first time I went in there, I was super nervous, but I'm digressing. So anyway, getting back, people are nervous when they get in there. So my advice would be to take a minute in the elevator, walking up, take a minute and just breathe a couple times, because the worst thing you want to do is get there and mouth vomit all your stuff and you've done nothing but make the people want to run away from you. So take a minute and breathe and just talk calmly to people, because some people are so excited and they're like their voices get loud and it makes everyone else want to walk away. And you don't have to tell everybody everything you do in 2 seconds. Just you're networking. You're not trying to sell a person. You're trying to just network and get to know them to see if they're a good fit, to be in your life in some sort of capacity. That's what networking is about. It's not to sell that person right this minute. It's to get to know them, to see if you want to be their friend, if you want to sell them something, if you want to be just networking buddies, if you can help them, you find out something and oh, I can introduce them to Paula. Oh, they need Michelle. Oh my goodness. Well, no, they might need Owen. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that I can sell them or that they could sell me. It's to figure out how to help them. So that's it.
Good. That's good.
Can I add to that? One strategy is, if you know who's sponsoring it, you can go to them and ask who's coming, right? So if you know who's coming, then you can ask that person, and it's particularly if you know what they do, find out what they do, you can ask that person, hey, can you introduce me to this person, this person, and this person? So you go in with a defined set of people that they're going to introduce you to. Or you can partner up with somebody that's going, and if they know someone there, people there, you all work together. I know this person or these people here, introduce me to those, and vice versa. So that helps with a strategy instead of just going into a room and just, trying to see who you can hit, that's going to be a good fit, potential good fit for you. So strategize and work together.
And I think it takes practice. I think you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in certain situations. So if you're walking into a room and there's 50 people and you don't know them, again, using Lori's and Owen's tips, but just practicing a little bit. Even if you're like, okay, today I'm just going to talk to 3 people because that's all I can do. And I'm going to try to be purposeful and make some good connections. And then the next time I come, I'm going to recognize those people so I feel a little bit more comfortable because I feel like I've got more people on my side in the room. And then you can kind of venture out and see. But it takes practice.
And if you know you're going to somewhere that's brand new and you're not going to know anybody, call your friend who also networks and say, I'm going here, can you go with me? At least stay for 10 minutes. Because at least you can walk around and you have somebody that's there with you. Even if you don't talk, just go and be there. Like, I went to Strictly Business in Newport News, a couple weeks ago. There were 250 people there. I knew one person. I saw her walking in. She waited for me because she was the line was very long to get in. But she waited for me, and her and I, we just kept each other we just kept eyeing each other as we're going around the room. And if she was talking to a group of people, I would walk over and then she would introduce me. And then if I was talking to a group of people, she would see me and, introduce me. But we got around the room pretty good. Neither one of us knew anybody going in the door, but we had that comfort of knowing that each other was there. So that's
I'm just going to add you had mentioned, is there one thing that you dislike? For me personally, it is, have you ever met somebody and they told you their name and they told you the company they worked for, and maybe they handed you their business card and they told you what you did, and you still have no idea what they do? It has to have happened. I've literally been standing somewhere and had their business card in my hand. They just told me that they, craft solutions for something, but it was vague. I still don't know who they are. I still don't know what they do. And I'm looking at the business card and I still don't know what they are, who they are, what they do, who their customer is. Can I use them? So that is my pet peeve. If you're going to go as far as marketing yourself and attending these events, be specific with people. Tell them what you're looking for, who your customer is, and exactly what you do. I think a lot of times, especially if we're small, we try to make ourselves bigger, and we try to make ourselves bigger by using a bunch of words that really just fill space and don't tell me exactly who you are and what you do. I don't need you to be big, I just need you to be specific.
Did you meet him Wednesday night at the B2B networking group? Wednesday night at the Town Point Club?
Who?
The guy you're talking about.
It happens at every event I go to, there's at least one.
Okay.
Where I will say more than once. I'm sorry, so what are you doing? So what are you doing? So what are you doing? After 3, I'm out.
Okay, well, okay. He did that same thing to me, and I said, I have no clue what you're talking about, because that's just me. And I said, you need to dumb it down. I said, because nobody understands what you're talking about. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yes.
Because I'll just try to make it bigger, or they talk in their industry-specific language.
Yeah,
like if I'm at
exactly.
Lori and she says I do CMMT plans for IMG, I would be like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah. You have
IT
to,
is enough, right?
yeah, you have to
IT
dumb
is
it
enough.
down.
That's good, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still not sure I know what IT means,
Yeah,
but
you have to dumb it down. But he had no clue that none of us understood. We were in a room of 50 people. None of us knew what he did. So what was he doing there? He didn't tell us anything about what he did. So I explained to him very nicely. I was very nice. I have to remind myself.
I'm sure you think you were.
that everything he is saying, nobody understands. So remember, just because you know what you do, doesn't mean everybody can hear what you do.
Right, they may not be perceiving it the way that it's coming out.
Right.
Sounds like they need a power statement.
Exactly.
That's what you need.
We'll get to that in a
When
minute.
we're in that situation and somebody is telling us something that we don't understand, I'm never afraid to say, so does that mean,
Yes, very good.
because I'm pretty sure I'm not getting it.
Good for you, Rebecca.
Over that, yep.
Sharon, did you have your hand up?
Yes, yes. This is directed for Paula for that particular person. Because I had the same thing last night. He came in with a door knocker, and it was some pictures on the door knockers. It was protein bars, and that's all he spoke about. It didn't have his name. It didn't have telephone numbers or anything. So my question is, I know what to bring to networking a bit, but however, I'm specific, just looking for 3 to 5 people as well. But however, if somebody comes in with all this paraphernalia, do you run for the hills or you politely let them know one piece of collateral will work?
I politely let them, I think I politely let them know, but I might just tell them flat out, because that's just me.
Well, I also
Right,
think-
but if he has that one door knocker and it's not telling me anything,
I would tell him, you're not telling us anything here, dude, or
yeah.
chick.
Dude.
It's, just try to have it's a professional courtesy, because you want people to succeed, right? I think everyone in this room would say,
Absolutely.
whether they're, people that we're aligned with, maybe even if they're competitors, right? I think everybody has a good heart and you want people to be successful. And again, maybe people are nervous or they don't know what they're doing. They haven't really practiced the art yet. So I feel like if you say as a professional courtesy, that may just come off a little easier.
And he had just
good
started
tip,
and
yeah.
everything, so I was like, came with door knockers, but you're not. I said, okay.
I think it's a
Yeah.
common mistake. People don't know how to communicate effectively to other people in a quick situation, what they do. And more importantly, to Owen's point, maybe the idea is not to communicate what you do. Maybe it isn't, like Lori said, mouth vomit on people. Hi, I'm Paula and I do insurance and financial services. Like nobody wants to hear that. Maybe instead what I do is say, hi, I'm Paula and here's solutions I can offer so that you can determine right away whether or not I'm even somebody you need. You may not need a new roof. So we can get that out of the way right away. I'm glad you do roofs, Paula. Nice to meet you. And I just got a roof, so I'm good. I can get on to the next. You can go find somebody who needs a roof, right? I mean, I'm just saying that being specific allows people to weed you out. But I think Lori made this point, and I'll just stress it too. It isn't always about me meeting Sharon and does Sharon need a roof or does Sharon need my financial services. It's about who does Sharon know? And who, if I make a good enough impression on Sharon, Sharon may tell Rebecca, you need to meet Paula. Because the next time Rebecca says, I just added a teenage driver and my bill went up $800, Sharon can say to Rebecca, call Paula. She's good at that. She helped me when I had that problem. Whatever it is. You don't always worry, I met Sharon and she doesn't do what I need and maybe I don't need Sharon's legal services. I mean, I do and I have them, but it's not about does Sharon need me? It's about who does Sharon know?
And I'm glad you said that because I'm a huge connector. I always try to find out what that particular person does and how you can benefit me and my clients and the people that I haven't met yet. That I can say, okay, Owen does small business, Paula has a financial, Chelsea, I'm a cheat. Chelsea is, HR. I do apologize.
Michelle.
Michelle is Aflac and Lori is IT CMC component.
Thinking them duties right, yeah. Good job, yeah. Good job.
Well, it's like, that's why I said earlier about networking is, I met Hillary at an event, we talked, we exchanged cards. I reached out to her, we had lunch, and then at lunch, she needed something. I literally picked up my phone, I called my friend Lori, and I said, Lori, this is Hillary. And Hillary gave her her email. Has Lori followed up?
Yes. An hour later.
Good.
That's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to meet people, get to know them. When you trust them, then you send them on to other people in your network that you know. Yes, ma'am, Tina.
So in my profession, for me, I've always said, usually in sales, they say always be closing. For me, it's always be connecting, because people come to me all the time for, I couldn't even tell you the things that people have come to me asking, do I know somebody who? So when I come to networking events, that's what I'm coming for. I'm coming for the people that I can use as my arsenal to help me with my people. So that's what I'm for.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And you actually can tie all this back into one thing that Paula was talking about in terms of if you intend to grow, what strategy you're going to use to grow. Networking is a strategy. I intend to connect with 3 people every week at a networking event. That's part of the strategy.
Yep.
Just calculate the cost.
Yeah.
Don't you blowing up your
I mean,
budget.
listen, I say that for a reason because a lot of times we think things like going to a network, there is no cost for that. But Lori and I have this conversation all the time. She's like, do you want to go with this to me? And I said to her,
Yeah.
3 hours away from my desk, when I make money every time I answer the phone, is a cost to me. So if I can't put somebody at my desk who's also, if there's not somebody who's going to answer that phone and make those sales, then no, I'm not coming to that networking event with you. And I have to weigh the financial impact of meeting the potential people. How many sales do I normally make at a networking event versus how many sales am I going to make if I stay at my desk and answer my phone? I can quantify that.
I mean, be purposeful,
Purposeful.
in the networking events that you choose, or just is it applicable, and are you going to be able to find connections and introductions that are going to help your business grow?
And for me, a lot of times I do attend the networking events that are not in the middle of the workday. That's my balance. I'll go with Lori to something on a Friday night or a Thursday night or Tuesday night when the phone is being answered by somebody else.
And you also have to remember, if she's out of her seat, right, that's hours that she has to make up during the workday.
Y'all understand that, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, it's like the work. I mean, somebody's got to do it.
The emails are
right?
piling up right
Yeah.
now. The emails are piling
So
up.
Michelle and I go instead.
That's right. We go. We're good. Well, in a high touch.
I don't have a Flora,
Yeah.
so I gotta
And
go
also
home and answer
in a-
my own emails.
In a high touch industry, insurance is a very high touch industry. You are fighting fires all day long, right? You've got clients coming at you with requests and things, and I know you can relate to that, right? So I think it's different industries, right? You're going to be specializing in something, or your workday may look very different than the person next to you, right? But you just got to be purposeful.
And this is a great segue back to our power statement, right? Because as we're in networking events and we're trying to brand ourselves, I ask you, Owen, how can a well-crafted power statement be used in your business branding?
Okay, so obviously power statements are just one piece of the branding process, right? But it can serve as a way, as a door opener for a lot of encounters that you have. So it can be used in your marketing material. You can use it, the power statement or parts of it on your website. So it can be used in many different places. The key is, again, if it's well crafted, it's going to grab someone's attention. So it can be used, it can just fit into an overall branding campaign, if you will. And especially, again, nobody mentioned how many years they've been in business. Obviously, this was geared towards people in the business in 3 to 5 years. So again, they don't have a huge budget for advertising and marketing. So power statements are a very good way to fill that gap until you can get to a point where you can set aside money for more branding and marketing.
Awesome. Paula, we're gonna talk about the money again, okay?
Let's go.
We're gonna count the cost.
There's a song about that. Got my mind.
How would one calculate their return on investment for adding employees?
So there's a very specific formula out there for adding employees. The problem and the reason a lot of people get caught up on this is because it's difficult to quantify some of the things in the formula. So the formula for return on investment of employee is very simple. It's the lifetime value of an employee divided by two things added together. So you add together the cost to hire the employee and the cost to retain the employee. And you divide that by the lifetime value of an employee. So, I'm sorry, lifetime value is divided by those two things added together. So this is where it gets difficult to quantify this. And it's important that you quantify. Even if your number's not perfect, it's important that you assign some number to these and work this formula out if you're going to add people. Because there's another piece I'm going to kind of talk to you about that goes along with this. But when you're calculating the lifetime value of employee, you're looking at their overall contribution and increased revenue, increased profits, increased productivity, and sometimes it can be difficult to, you can easily quantify or add some number to increased revenue, right? If I hire a new salesperson, they should sell X number per month, and that should create a quantifiable number, right? And I can do the same thing on profits. If they sell that much, then I'll make this much more in profit, right? I can assign a number and calculate that. Maybe difficult, but you can, even if it's not a perfect number, you can get to a number. The hard part is productivity. A lot of times people have a tough time assigning a number to productivity, but it's important that you figure out how to value productivity in your office and assign a number to that, whether it be an hourly and it's going to save 3 hours, or an efficiency it's going to create. And so the person's, if I hire this person, now that person's not going to have to do this, that's going to increase that person's productivity, but you've got to assign numbers to it and be specific. The cost to hire is going to include everything from advertising, background checks, interview expense, and the cost to retain is going to include everything from salaries, benefits, training, development, enrichment, all the things that it's going to cost to onboard that person and retain that person. So again, you're going to add together the cost to hire the employee and the cost to retain it, and you're going to calculate the lifetime value of an employee and divide it by the cost to hire and cost to retain. So by calculating a return on investment, it helps you understand the importance of a couple of things. Now that you've understand what it's going to take for that person to be profitable, the goal would be that you understand the financial impact of what it costs your business to hire, so that you improve your candidate evaluations, right? We're not just interviewing everybody. We're improving who our candidates are. We're reducing our time to hire. Right now, the average to hire is 42 days. So if we can get that cost down, that's a cost factor to us. That's a quantifiable cost factor. You're going to have a more structured onboarding process when you bring them on, because you understand that if you have a structured process, you're going to increase your retention by 58%. You're going to have an onboarding training and development once they're on board, because 94% of employees who leave say they would have stayed longer if their employer had offered continuous learning opportunities and mentorship. They leave. 94% of people say, I wouldn't have left if I just thought there was room to grow, or somebody was willing to invest in me. Somebody was willing to help develop me. So when you understand the importance of how expensive it is for you to bring people on and then lose them, it helps you calculate that lifetime value and the return on investment in an employee. If you decide you're going to hire them, invest in them, because you've already got so much money going in up front, it is cheaper to keep them, usually. Cheaper to develop them and keep them if they're the right fit. Now, if we're not the right fit, we're not even having this conversation. But you've got to put the numbers around. I know it sounds crazy. I know my numbers almost every single day. I know what my profit number is almost every day. I look at it. There are days where I miss it, but on average, on 4 days a week, I know exactly what our production is, exactly what my costs are. I know my numbers every single day. And I'm not saying that everybody should have to look at those numbers every day, but at every point I am running, remember from the beginning of this conversation, I'm running a business for money. So I always know my money. I'm never not sure about my money. I'm never not sure if we're going to be profitable this year or not. I know right now, today, exactly what my bonus in March is going to look like. I watch that number every day. I know my numbers, and I'm going too far down the rabbit hole, but part of that is when I'm looking at bringing on an employee, there's a cost factor, right? I'm not going to recoup my employee costs my first year, but I already know that. So I already know exactly how many months, depending on what type of employee I'm hiring, exactly what their production level has to be, and exactly how long I have to retain them before I reach zero, which means I'm not in the negative anymore. I'm just trying to get to zero. Now that person has not cost me a dime yet. Now from this point forward, I'm going to make profit on them. But you got to do the math. It's a math question.
Are you allocating for that year? Are you increasing that with your budgeting process year over year? That recruiting number that you're utilizing
Yes.
in your financials? Okay.
Yes, I have everything budgeted, from my marketing expense to how much I'm spending on Google ads to how much everything, down to how many hours I spend doing it. I know it sounds crazy, but my husband started this with me. So my husband and I take very different viewpoints, but it's really collaborative and good, the fact that we think so differently. And he has this joke at home that he's $120 an hour. And so I'll say something to him like, oh, I need you to do so-and-so, and he'll joke back 120. This is going to cost you 120. And it's a funny joke, but that's what his mechanics bill out at. Is this was from a long time ago. They would bill out more now, but the bill out rate was 120 an hour. So if I would say to him, hey, look, I need you to fix the table on the deck, he would be like, yeah, it's 120 an hour. And I'm like, well, we would have this joke, but he would always come back to the fact that that's how he thought. He thought in terms of hourly. If you're an employee of mine, I'm asking you to do something, and I could be billing you out on the service truck for $120 an hour. What I'm asking you to do better be revenue generating, right? So I think in terms of money. I'm in business to make money. I think in terms of money, even down to my time. I think of it in terms of money.
It drives me nuts, but that's
Time is money.
They say time is money, but I quantify it's very quantifiable for me. And so when I make decisions, a lot of times I do make decisions based on, no, financially I'm not going to do that. But it's good to have people in your life who aren't like that too, because they can keep you balanced. Like Lori's like, stop it, you're going with me to this event anyway. And so, we can push on each other, but it also, then I can push on her a little bit about, well, what's your return on investment of that? Is that really worth it for you?
Yeah.
And that's all I want
go
you to
to
do.
that?
I'm not saying it has to run your life. I mean, I do have balance with this. I do make bad financial decisions and choose to not, be away from my desk to, go spend the afternoon with my son. It's not a good financial decision. It's a choice where I may choose something else over money, but it's never because I have not thought about the financial impact of it. I've just weighed something else as more important today than money.
I know we have about 8 more minutes left in this session. So before we take 1 or 2 last questions, does anyone have any questions for the panel before I introduce any more? Okay. We're going to stay in that vein of recruiting and retention, and I'm going to utilize during introductions. I think the young lady in the back shared that there were some obstacles that your business was faced at some point with retention or recruiting, right? So I'm going to ask Chelsea this question, if I may. How can a business adopt new strategies based on the recent job market? Sure. Can you share a little bit about that and the demands?
Yes. So to give you some stats, 83% of employers are reporting difficulty attracting employees. 74% are reporting difficulty retaining employees. Highest rates in the last 12 years. I don't know if you guys heard something, COVID. I don't know if that's, anybody heard of that? But that, I feel, started kind of a cyclical cycle of, or a frustrating cycle of, people reevaluating what they want, right? So I think that turned into reevaluating things maybe on a broad scope, but also a little bit more of a granular level. So, I feel like there's a lot of candidates or employees that want to move away from certain things. So maybe excessive meetings, right? Inflexible work hours. Team bonding exercise or out of office events. Those are kind of more of what they want to do, right? So more advocating for that. Mandatory assignments during interview processes. Well, I mean, I have a little different opinion on that. I think that trying to map someone to the right position brings a lot of value, and sometimes, you know, asking someone to do something, I think, also shows initiative and their willingness to do it. So I'm not as much in agreement with that. Maybe and also inability to negotiate benefits. Now, an employee benefit package, right? You're going to be kind of bound to what is offered to you. So when I say benefits, don't necessarily just think of like the group health insurance plan or the life insurance plan, right? It's other things that might come along with that. So those are some of the frustrations that candidates and employees have. Kind of how do employers you know, figure out how to mitigate that or work around that. I would say top option would be try to be more flexible with work arrangements. Try to have, again, I spoke about work-life balance a little bit more, but being flexible and being compassionate about your employee base, because they are your biggest asset, right? So you know, if you have employees, right, they help with productivity, they help with ROI, they help with efficiency. They're gonna help you run your business, right? So, you know, reflecting on that and being accommodating and not maybe like you know, requiring them to be a workhorse, or just consideration sometimes. You know, adding in like, hey, it's 12 o'clock on a Friday, have a fantastic weekend. Yeah. Right? Just offering them something and giving them little like surprises, or hey, we're gonna do a work lunch today. We're gonna do a lunch and learn. We've incorporated that actually into our office a lot. We're bringing in other professionals to talk about different industries that touch ours and some that don't, just to give you give that employee a better scope and an understanding of what's out there. Prioritizing onboarding. It's an expense, right? But being purposeful with it, getting your managers, your team members involved, creating connections with those new employees. Really, you know, I think at the end of the day, it shows that you care about people. You know, it's not just, what can this employee do for me? It's more of changing the mindset of, what can I do for this employee and their family to help them? Maybe utilizing employee engagement surveys. Again, training your managers and supervisors to be on board with engaging with your employees, because think about if you've got you know, a workforce of 30 people, you have managers in place, right? They're managing that department, so that's that direct line of communication that employee might have. And so making sure that manager has interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence to kind of read a room, you know, and understand maybe that employee maybe needs some help with something. Just getting involved.
Exercising care,
Yep.
right? As
Yep.
an employer. So important.
Yep.
So important. Last question, and then we're gonna end, okay? Before I take any last minute questions, but it's for you, Michelle.
Awesome.
And this question is, are there any trends that you see for employers with any type of benefits that they should be offering their employees for retention purposes?
I believe that also you have to look at the particular employee that's coming in. Are they the millennials, 25 to 40, or what is important to them? So finding out, are they motivated by cash benefits? You know, you might have, I find a lot of the we have a lot of agents that come in, and I find that they really don't, let's see how I can put this.
Nicely.
Yeah. So are they motivated by recognition? Are they motivated by cash? Are they motivated by just, you know, a graphic here and there to a whole group text of people that says, you know, just finding out about that particular employee and what motivates them. So I think a trend right now is that really everybody's so different. They say that the millennials are averaging 15 to 20 jobs in their lifetime, whereas it used to be so different. Like, used to be you'd stay for a long time with whoever you were with, and that's okay. But we have to be different. We have to figure out how to we have to figure out how to make them productive and what drives them so that we can get the end result.
I have two millennials, and they're very different than the rest of the millennials. They both have been in one job since they've got their jobs, and they're both more motivated by time off.
Yes. Yes.
Time off. Actually, now I have 3 because they got married. So anyway, now I have 3 millennials. But anyway,
Well, there's definitely a newer trend. So, historically we've had like PTO, so paid time off. Sometimes that can include sick pay. So if you get maybe 15 days of paid time off, sick time could be included in that. A newer trend is unlimited time off. And studies are actually showing, because that is, it's like, oh, wow, I could have as many days off as I want. It's actually, studies are showing that people are using less time. So even though you, would offer them, unlimited, maybe they're only using 8 of those 15-day PTO days that maybe historically have been part of that benefit package. So
Because it's a part of the flexibility
Yep.
that an
it
employer
goes
is
back to
offering.
that. And so now I would say you may find that you'll get an individual or a population of individuals that may take advantage of that, right? Because there's the other side of that. But I think overall you're going to find that people are going to really appreciate that first, right?
Yep.
Because it's you're actually kind of taking ownership of that, and they trust you enough, right? I think that provides a level of trust with that employee, because it's consciously, you don't want to be taking too much advantage of something like that. I think it's very interesting.
Good points, good points. Well,
Bless you.
Well, that kind of concludes our question and answer and our forum. First of all, can you guys take a moment and give them a hand, please? So much information was shared, so many gems. I can't wait to go back and write them all down and ask you guys for some of your notes. But thank you all for your time and your information, your expertise, and thank you guys for your participation. Oh, yes.
Or did you say this was on YouTube? Who
yep,
said that?
I just turned it off.
What's the link?
Go to www.teamaot.com.